The Cavendish estate on Long Island glows like a jeweled ship on a black sea. Lanterns line the drive. A string quartet plays something gentle and expensive. Inside, crystal clinks and polished voices float above the scent of rosemary and champagne. Alia Monti stands near the terrace doors, shoulders back, chin level. She wears a champagne dress that Lady Elizabeth Cavendish chose with ruthless precision. Not too bold, not too meek. The kind of elegance that does not beg. On Alia's wrist is a jade bracelet, cool against her skin. It is not a fashion piece. It is the Cavendish jade, a century-old heirloom that only touches the wrist of a future daughter-in-law. Lady Elizabeth stands at the head of the room, silver hair swept into a flawless knot. She raises her glass, and the chatter dies. "Tonight," she says, voice calm, "I introduce the woman I have chosen for my son. Alia Monti will be my future daughter-in-law. This jade is the family's welcome." For a heartbeat, the room holds its breath. Then whispers crackle like dry leaves. A curator? From where again? Talented, sure, but still. Elizabeth is serious. Look at Keller. Keller Cavendish, 30, the CEO everyone fears, does not smile often. But he is watching Alia like she is the only thing in the room that matters. His gaze is steady, protective, almost dangerous. Alia meets the stares without flinching. She feels the weight of the bracelet, and the weight of what it means. Approval, protection. A door opening into a world that can also slam shut. Across the room, Valerie Thorne stands in a red gown that was meant to dominate the night. She is Keller's distant cousin, and she has spent years calling herself the obvious choice. Her lips curve into a polite line, but her eyes are sharp with hunger. When dessert arrives, the crowd drifts toward the terrace. Night air cools flushed faces. Candles tremble. Alia steps out, grateful for space. Valerie appears beside her like a shadow. "Enjoying the view?" Valerie asks, smiling. Alia keeps her voice even. "It is a beautiful estate." Valerie's gaze drops to the bracelet. The smile does not reach her eyes. "You are wearing something that does not belong to you." "It was given to me," Alia says. "By Lady Elizabeth." Valerie's laugh is soft. "Given," as if it were a scarf. Alia does not move. "It is not yours to question." The mask slips. Valerie's hand snaps out and clamps around Alia's wrist. Pain flashes. Alia inhales, shocked by the force. "Let go," Alia says. Valerie squeezes harder. "You think a bracelet makes you one of us? You are a guest who forgot her place." Heads turn. Nearby conversations fade. Alia tries to pull away, but Valerie yanks her closer, nails biting skin. The jade catches the candlelight, a green glow that seems to watch the two of them. "This is a family heirloom." Valerie hisses. "You are not family. Give it back." Alia keeps her breathing steady. "If you want to insult me, do it with words. Do not touch me." Valerie's face twists. "You want words? Fine. You are a nobody who climbed into our house with a pretty smile." She jerks the bracelet, trying to slide it over Alia's hand. The jade refuses. It holds like a promise. Alia's heel slips on the stone. She stumbles, catching herself on the railing. For one terrifying second she imagines the jade shattering, not from value, but from meaning. "Valerie," Alia says, voice low. "Stop." Valerie's eyes burn. "I will show you what you deserve." She raises her fist, bracelet caught in her grip, ready to slam it down on the terrace. "Enough." The voice is cold. The kind of cold that makes a room obey. Keller strides onto the terrace, black suit sharp as a blade. His eyes lock on Valerie's hand. In one move he grabs her wrist and stops the swing. Valerie gasps. "Keller, you are hurting me." Keller does not loosen his grip. "You were about to break my family's heirloom. And you were about to hurt her." The terrace goes silent. Candles flicker in the sudden stillness. Valerie forces a laugh, loud and brittle. "I am protecting the family. She is not worthy." Keller's stare could cut glass. "Try again." He pulls Valerie's wrist down until her hand drops. Alia pulls her arm back, cradling it. Red marks bloom under the jade. Keller glances at Alia's wrist, and something dark passes through his face. Then he turns back to Valerie. "You do not touch her," he says. "Not ever." A few steps away, Marcus Cavendish, the 78-year-old family elder, watches with a rigid jaw. Lady Elizabeth stands behind him, her posture unshaken. Valerie tries to free herself. "You are choosing a stranger over blood." Keller's voice drops, dangerous and quiet. Blood does not excuse poison. Keller releases Valerie only when he is sure she will not lunge again. He steps in front of Alia without thinking, a shield made of muscle and certainty. "Are you hurt?" He asks, softer now. Alia swallows. My wrist is fine. The bracelet is fine. It matters that you are fine. Keller says. He takes her hand carefully, thumb brushing the red marks as if apologizing without words. Valerie straightens her gown, trying to regain control. You are all overreacting. She provoked me. Alia does not speak. She lets silence do the work. Keller turns to the guests. Everyone here saw what happened. A murmur ripples. Some people look away. Others stare at Valerie like she is a spectacle. Valerie lifts her chin. If you insist on a scene, then I will speak plainly. A woman like her cannot carry the Cavendish name. Keller smiles. It is not warmth. It is warning. You think this is about names? Fine. Let us talk about yours. Valerie's eyes narrow. What is that supposed to mean? Keller reaches into his jacket and pulls out his phone. He taps once, then holds it up. A recording plays, clear enough that the terrace seems to shrink around it. A woman's voice, Valerie's voice, says, "Push the rumor harder. Tell them she slept her way into the gallery circuit." If Keller hears it enough times, he will doubt her. The recording ends. The quiet after it is brutal. Valerie's face drains. That is edited. That is fake. Keller scrolls and shows another file. And this. You asked an assistant to swap my gift, then told Alia I forgot her birthday. You wanted her to think I did not care. Valerie shakes her head, almost pleading now. I did not. I was only trying to help you see the truth. Lady Elizabeth steps forward, heels clicking like punctuation. Her expression is calm, but her eyes are steel. Valerie, she says. I treated you like family. You returned it with malice. Valerie turns to her. Aunt Elizabeth, please. You cannot be serious. You cannot throw me away for her. Lady Elizabeth does not raise her voice. I can, and I will. Marcus clears his throat, old authority heavy in the sound. Keller, this is messy. Do we need to handle this here? Keller does not look at him. It is already here. He faces Valerie. You do not get to attack the woman I love, then pretend it is tradition. Valerie's mouth trembles. Rage fights panic. I did everything for you. You did everything for yourself. Keller says. Valerie drops to her knees, a dramatic collapse meant to summon pity. Tears appear fast, practiced. Please. I am sorry. Give me another chance. I will apologize to her. Keller's voice is flat. You were about to break the Jade. That is not a mistake. That is intent. He gestures to the security team near the doors. Remove her. 2 guards approach. Valerie whirls on them. Do not touch me. The guards do not flinch. They take her by the arms. Valerie kicks, heels scraping stone. Keller, you cannot do this to me. Keller watches her without blinking. From this moment, you are no longer welcome in this house. Your position at Cavendish Group is terminated. Every access badge, every account, every favor, gone. Valerie's scream is raw. You will regret this. The doors close behind her. The night air rushes back in, as if the estate exhales. Alia stands very still. The terrace feels too bright, too public. She forces herself not to shake. Lady Elizabeth turns to Alia and gently lifts her wrist, examining the marks. My dear, she says, voice softer now. I am sorry you were treated that way in my home. Alia meets her eyes. Thank you for standing with me. Lady Elizabeth nods once. You are not alone here. Marcus watches Alia for a long moment, then speaks, grudging but honest. You did not beg. You did not cry. You held yourself with dignity. Alia answers carefully. I will not embarrass your family. Marcus's gaze flicks to the Jade. Perhaps the Jade chose well. Keller squeezes Alia's hand. It did. The morning after the dinner, gossip spreads faster than sunlight over Manhattan. At Alia's gallery office in Chelsea, a junior staffer hesitates at her door. Ms. Monty, there is a blog post and a social feed thread. They are saying you staged the scene for attention. Alia reads the screenshots. Words like gold digger and social climber glare back. Valerie's fingerprints are everywhere, even without her name. Her stomach tightens, but her voice stays calm. Thank you. Close the door. When Keller calls, his tone is tight. I will shut it down. You cannot sue the entire internet. Alia says. I can sue the source. Alia exhales. If you do it now, they will say I am hiding behind you. Keller is silent for a beat. What do you want to do? I want to speak for myself. Alia says. Not as your girlfriend. Not as Lady Elizabeth's choice. As me. Keller's voice softens. Tell me how to help. Stand beside me. Alia says. Do not speak for me. In the Cavendish Group tower, Keller calls an emergency meeting. Executives crowd the boardroom, tension thick. A project with a rival luxury brand has stalled. A private deck of strategy documents has leaked. His head of security speaks first. The leak came from a login that used Valerie Thorne's credentials. The access was after midnight, 2 hours after she was removed from the estate. Keller's jaw tightens. She still had access. Not anymore. The security chief says. We shut it down this morning. Keller looks at the screen, then at his leadership team. Find everything. Every email. Every message. I want a clean timeline. When he returns home that night, Alia is at the kitchen island with her laptop, posture straight, eyes focused. I asked 3 reputable outlets for an interview, she says. Not the gossip sites. The ones that people respect. Keller watches her, admiration mixing with worry. They will be brutal. Let them try. Alia says. She touches the jade bracelet, steadying herself. If I fold, Valerie wins. If I speak, at least my voice exists. Lady Elizabeth arrives an hour later, carrying a folder. I have something, she says. Inside are letters, old photos, and a formal note about the jade bracelet. A documented family tradition. A line of women, wrists bearing jade, faces proud. Lady Elizabeth places the folder in front of Alia. This is not just jewelry. It is history. People will treat it like a trophy. Make them see it as trust. Alia nods. I will. The interview is scheduled for Friday. Valerie does not wait until then. A columnist publishes a new claim, quoting an unnamed source. The source says Alia manipulated Lady Elizabeth through charity work, that she was planted to influence the board, that she is part of a scheme. Alia reads the article twice, then closes her laptop. Keller stands behind her, hands on her shoulders. Say the word. I will go after her. Alia turns her head slightly. Not yet. If she wants a fight in the dark, I will drag her into the light. Friday arrives with hard winter light and sharp cameras. The press room is not glamorous. It is clean, bright, and serious. Alia sits at the table with a microphone. Keller sits beside her, silent as promised. Lady Elizabeth sits on the other side, composed. Reporters fill the seats. A few faces are eager for blood. The first question comes fast. Ms. Monty, are you using Mr. Cavendish to advance your career? Alia looks directly at the reporter. I built my career before I met Keller. I curated my first exhibition at 23. I work. I earn. I do not need a man to validate my value. Another voice. Did Lady Elizabeth give you the jade to spite her family? Alia keeps her tone steady. She gave it to me because she believes in me, and because she knows her son. A third question is sharper. People say you are pretending to be humble. They say you are a social climber. Alia pauses. The room leans in. I grew up in Queens, she says. My mother taught public school. My father fixed elevators. I learned to be polite because it mattered. I learned to be strong because nobody else was going to save me. She lifts her wrist so the jade catches the light. This bracelet is not my prize. It is a responsibility. If I take the Cavendish name one day, it will be because I keep my own name clean. A few reporters shift, caught off balance by the lack of performance. Alia is not crying. She is not begging. Lady Elizabeth speaks next, brief and sharp. Any claim that my choice was manipulated insults me. I do not hand my family's heirloom to someone I have not measured with my own eyes. Cameras click. Keller remains silent, but his gaze never leaves Alia. After the press conference, online tone changes. People share clips. Some apologize. Some double down. But the narrative is no longer one-sided. That night, Keller shows Alia a file on his laptop. We found the leak trail. He says. Valerie sold a portion of internal plans to a competitor's contractor. Not enough to destroy us, but enough to cause damage. Alia's chest tightens. She did that because of me. No, Keller says. She did that because she thinks entitlement is a right. Lady Elizabeth arrives the next morning with Marcus at her side. Marcus looks older in daylight. His traditional pride has softened into tired truth. I heard the clip. He says to Alia. You spoke well. Thank you. Alia replies. Marcus clears his throat. I still believe the family name should be protected. That means we do not tolerate sabotage from inside. Valerie crossed a line. Keller nods. We have evidence. Enough for a case. Marcus glances at Keller, then at Alia's wrist. And enough for the family to choose where it stands. Lady Elizabeth's voice is quiet, but final. It stands with her. Extra seen the boardroom line in the sand the following Monday. Keller walks into the boardroom before anyone else. The skyline outside is washed in gray. He places a single page in the center of the table. It lists every department Valerie touched. When the executives arrive, he does not wait for small talk. Valerie's access was a risk we ignored because we wanted family peace. Keller says. That ends today. A senior director shifts uncomfortably. Keller, the press is watching. Another scandal could spook investors. Keller looks at him. Investors do not fear truth. They fear weakness. He points to the page. We run an audit. Full. If anyone helped her leak, intentionally or by laziness, they go. A woman at the far end speaks up. We will lose people. Then we will lose them. Keller replies. I would rather rebuild with clean hands. After the meeting, Marcus stops Keller in the hallway. You are cutting too deep. Keller does not soften. You taught me the family survives by being ruthless when it matters. Marcus studies him. And the girl? Her name is Alia. Keller says. And she is not a shield. She is my partner. Marcus says nothing, but his eyes flicker, as if something in him accepts the new shape of the family. Extra scene Alia's quiet victory before the engagement party. Alia returns to her gallery and meets with a donor committee. The committee chair is a wealthy woman who used to praise Valerie's taste. The chair smiles too wide. Alia, dear, this rumor storm is unfortunate. Perhaps you should step back until it passes. Alia keeps her hands folded. If I step back, you will remember me as a rumor. If I stay, you will remember my work. The chair blinks. This is not personal. It became personal when you repeated lies. Alia says, still polite. Now I am offering you a better story. Come to the exhibit. Judge what is real. 2 weeks later, the chair attends. She brings 3 friends. The exhibit sells out its opening night. The next morning, the chair sends a message. I was wrong. Your eye is rare. Congratulations. Alia reads it, then deletes it. She does not need the apology. She needed the proof that she can win without becoming cruel. Extra scene Lady Elizabeth sets the rule after Valerie is removed the second time. Lady Elizabeth calls a private family meeting in the library. Every cousin, every aunt, every uncle sits stiffly under portraits of dead Cavendishes, who look unimpressed by the living. Lady Elizabeth stands. I will be clear. Any person who targets Alia targets me. A man scoffs. Elizabeth, you cannot threaten the family. She turns to him, calm. I am not threatening. I am defining consequences. She gestures toward the portrait wall. This family built an empire by choosing discipline over drama. Valerie brought drama. Anyone who excuses her brings the same poison. The man opens his mouth, then closes it. Lady Elizabeth's gaze sweeps the room. If you have doubts about Alia, speak them to my face. Do not whisper. Do not leak. Do not test her. She is not an experiment. No one speaks. Marcus finally nods. Rule accepted. Lady Elizabeth looks at him once, satisfied. Good. Then we move forward. Valerie is no longer invited to charity luncheons. She is no longer welcomed at private clubs. Doors close and slow, humiliating clicks. But Valerie does not accept exile. She wants a final moment to stain Alia in public. A week before Keller and Alia's engagement party, a private investigator contacts a tabloid editor. He claims he has proof Alia has an affair. The proof is staged photos, carefully framed, and a fake email chain. Valerie pays for it with a burner account, convinced she is invisible. She is not. Keller's security team intercepts the investigator's messages through a monitored contact list. They track the payments. They capture the meeting time. Keller tells Alia in the quiet of their apartment. She is planning to hit you during the engagement party. Alia's throat goes dry. What does she want to do? Humiliate you. Keller says. And she hired someone to slip something into your drink. Not lethal. Enough to trigger an allergic reaction and make you panic in front of everyone. Alia's fingers curl around her mug. Anger rises, hot and clean. I am done being careful, she says. Keller studies her. What do you want? I want the truth in the open, Alia says. Not just for me. For the company. For your family. For anyone she will hurt next. Keller nods once. Then we set the stage. The engagement party is held at the Cavendish Winter Garden. Glass walls framing snow-covered hedges. Guests arrive in dark coats and glittering dresses. Cameras wait outside the gate. Alia walks in wearing a simple white gown. The jade bracelet is on her wrist, quiet and unshakable. Lady Elizabeth greets guests with a smile that could calm storms. Marcus stands at her side, posture formal. Valerie slips in among the crowd, hair styled, makeup perfect, confidence forced into her spine. She sees Alia and her eyes flash with hate. The hired investigator, disguised as a waiter, moves toward Alia with a tray. One glass is marked with a subtle tape dot. Before he reaches her, two security guards step in. One takes the tray. The other takes the man's arm. His face shifts from smug to terrified. I do not know what you mean. Keller appears, not shouting, not dramatic, just present. He holds a folder. He walks straight to Valerie. Hello, Valerie, he says. Valerie's smile freezes. Keller, this is not the time. It is exactly the time. Keller replies. He turns to the crowd, voice calm but carrying. Tonight was meant to celebrate my engagement, he says. But there is something our guests deserve to know. Whispers surge. Phones rise. Keller opens the folder and lifts out printouts, contracts, transfers, screenshots. He hands them to the nearest journalist who has been invited. This is the agreement Valerie signed with a private investigator, he says. This is the payment trail. This is the message instructing him to drug my fiancé's drink. Valerie lunges for the papers. That is a lie. Security blocks her. Her composure cracks, eyes wild. Alia steps forward, voice steady. Valerie, you tried to break the Jade. You tried to break me. Now you are trying to poison me. Valerie screams, high and sharp. You stole my life. You were never entitled to it, Alia says. The police enter through the garden doors, called ahead by Keller's team. An officer approaches Valerie. Ms. Thorne, you are being detained for attempted assault and for evidence related to corporate theft. Valerie's face collapses into panic. She thrashes. No, you cannot do this. I am a Cavendish. Lady Elizabeth steps forward, chin lifted. You are not. Not anymore. Valerie's eyes snap to her. Aunt Elizabeth, please. Lady Elizabeth's voice is soft, almost sad. I offered you love. You chose cruelty. The handcuffs click. Valerie is led away through a corridor of stunned guests. A hush falls. Then someone begins to clap. Another joins. The applause grows, not for the drama, but for the end of it. Keller turns to Alia, his eyes full. Are you okay? Alia breathes out slowly. I am now. Spring arrives late in New York. When it finally comes, it comes like relief. The wedding is held in a Manhattan conservatory with white orchids and green glass. The city hums beyond the walls, distant and harmless. Alia walks down the aisle with her father, his hands trembling with pride. The jade bracelet rests on her wrist. A diamond brooch, engraved with the Cavendish crest, sits on her dress. Marcus gave it to her quietly the week before. Keller waits at the front, face softened by something that looks like peace. The officiant speaks, formal and warm. Keller Cavendish, do you take Alia Monty as your wife, to love and to protect her for as long as you both shall live? I do. Keller says, voice steady. Alia Monty, do you take Keller Cavendish as your husband, to love and to stand with him for as long as you both shall live? I do. Alia replies. Her voice shakes, but she does not. They exchange rings. Keller's hands are careful, reverent. When he kisses her, applause rises like sunlight. At the reception, Lady Elizabeth lifts a glass. I once watched this jade placed on a wrist and wondered who would be strong enough to carry its meaning. She says. Now I know. Alia did not ask to be chosen. She chose to be worthy. Alia's throat tightens. She looks at Keller. He watches her like he always has, like she is safe. Later, under the conservatory lights, Marcus approaches Alia with slow steps. I was wrong, he says, blunt as ever. I believed blood was the only proof. I forgot character. Alia answers gently. Thank you for saying that. Marcus nods once, then glances at the jade. Keep it. And keep your spine. This family needs both. Alia laughs softly. I will. Months pass. Valerie's case moves through court. The details become public. The shame is permanent. Her influence in the company vanishes. The board cleans house with ruthless clarity. Alia returns to her work. She curates a major exhibition, bringing new artists into the light. She does it with Cavendish resources, but she does it with her own taste, her own discipline. Keller remains who he is, sharp and decisive in the boardroom, gentle and attentive at home. He shows up at her openings. He learns the names of painters. He listens. On a quiet Sunday, Alia stands at the kitchen window, sunlight on the jade. Keller wraps his arms around her from behind. You know, he says, voice low. The bracelet did not make you belong. Alia tilts her head. Then what did? Keller kisses her temple. You walked into a room that wanted to judge you, and you refused to shrink. Alia turns, facing him. And you refuse to let them hurt me. I will always refuse. Keller says. Lady Elizabeth visits that afternoon, bringing a small velvet box. Inside is a tiny jade charm, shaped like a leaf. For the future, she says, smiling. Alia's eyes warm. When the time comes, Lady Elizabeth pats her hand. When it comes, this family will be ready. Because you changed it. Outside, the city moves. Inside, the light rests on Jade, on rings, on hands that hold instead of grab. The bracelet remains what it always was. A promise. A line of women who chose love with a steady spine. And now it is also a reminder. No one gets to decide who is worthy, not with jealousy, not with cruelty, not with blood alone. Only with the truth. Epilogue. The Jade passes on a year later. The Cavendish estate is bright again, not with tension, but with laughter. Alia stands in the garden, with a small baby wrapped against her shoulder. The child makes a sleepy sound, then settles. Lady Elizabeth approaches, expression softer than the world ever sees in public. She touches the jade on Alia's wrist with 2 fingers, like greeting an old friend. You kept it safe, she says. Alia smiles. It kept me steady. Keller joins them, tie loosened, sleeves rolled. He looks at the baby and his face changes, all sharp edges turning gentle. Marcus arrives last, walking slowly with a cane he pretends not to need. He stops beside Alia and studies the child. A Cavendish? He asks, gruff. Alia answers without hesitation. And a Monty. Marcus huffs, almost amused. Good. Stubborn roots make strong trees. Lady Elizabeth opens a small box and lifts out a second piece of jade, a tiny bracelet sized for a child. The green is lighter, new, but the curve echoes the old heirloom. This is not the century-old jade, Lady Elizabeth says. That one stays with you for now. This is a new symbol, a new line. Alia's eyes sting. For her? For her, Lady Elizabeth replies. And for what she will learn from you, dignity, courage, and the rule that love is not owned, it is chosen. Keller takes Alia's hand and kisses her knuckles. The first time I saw you at that dinner, I thought I would have to protect you from my world, he says. Then you proved you could stand in it without bending. Alia laughs softly. I still wanted you to show up. I will always show up, Keller says. The baby yawns. Sunlight hits the jade, and it glows, quiet as a heartbeat. Somewhere beyond the hedges, the city keeps moving. Inside the family, the old poison is gone, replaced by a simple truth. No one wins by tearing a woman down. A family wins when it learns how to hold.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.